Hey guys, this is Rex, aka Killrex, and today I decided to give away a few trade secrets for some reason. Figured it's the end of the expansion here. We're on the last season, so why not? Um, but yeah, anyone in the community wanting to play Vengeance, just try it out. Um, Hopefully, this guide will help you skip a lot of steps. Um, just like this video, in a way, I want to make it as quick as possible. I'll spare you the semantics. Other than that, a little intro. I should say that I'll probably break this video up in the description into three parts. Each part containing two increments. First, I'll talk about talents. Then I'll jump into the theory of those talents and situations that you might find yourself in as a Vengeance Demon Hunter when it comes to flag carrying, base sitting, or stealing bases as a Ninja Vengeance Demon Hunter. Um, then I'll probably finalize this and conclude this video by talking about something to counter the mine bomb and smoke bomb situation scenarios um, with the vengeance bomb, which is a talent that's not referred to as that, but we'll get into that later. I just wanted to brief you guys on what's to come, and without further ado, let's get into it. So obviously you see my spells here. Let's open up make sure I'm the right spec. Let's go into Vengeance talents. And the first talent is obviously going to be about Abyssal Strike. So you always want to run that. Never not want to run that unless you're in a situation where you're reversing a lot of, where basically the more than 50% of their DPS is melee damage or physical damage for that matter. Doesn't say they need to be melee. Yes, it does. They have to be melee. So if they have a lot of like bruiser damage like that, like rogue, warrior, uh, situations like that, then you want to run this one. Um, Other than that, any map you're gonna want the extra range on your leap, I call, as well as the reduced cooldown. For the next ones, these two, it doesn't really matter. This is from my I'm getting this one right now because of my legendary that I have on. But I use this one a lot, to be honest. But that's just my personal choice. But you have the option of choosing this one too, so it's totally up to you. Just try to think of the situation you're gonna be in beforehand. I always run this one no matter what. I used to run Fellblade because just because I I didn't like going towards the target when I was trying to run away from it. And when I run Fellblade as a Havoc spec, I normally spam this all the time, so I didn't want to since I'm already in the habit of doing it, I didn't want to repeat myself in the Vengeance spec. So I don't use this one ever anymore because, like I said, I'm trying to get away from the target. I'm not trying to go to the target. Um, and normally, when you're in a flag carrying situation, when you're running away from the target, you're trying to do damage as you run in front of them. So you're like kind of casting spells as you 180 in the air, but 180 back. So you have to like 360, if that makes sense. Like at the 180 point in the air, cast your spells, and then do another 180 to complete the 360 and keep running. So that's what I mean. Like if you're pressing Fellblade, you're gonna go in the wrong direction towards the target that should be behind you. Uh, so Fell Eruption is especially important in orb maps because that's an execute. And also just as a getaway, an extra getaway, because it stuns them for like a second. This next one, I used to run Soul Rending, but then I got into Fracture because it's just, I figured like I had an extra ability to fit into my cast sequences. And to be honest, I'll explain why this one's valuable. It has to do with Spirit Bomb, which basically, uh, I mean, you could read it, but I tested it, and it gives you more healing than Soul Cleave right here, which is like what heals you as a direct spell, like Death Strike for um, Death Knights. But this one is a ranged version of that. So, I mean, for every uh, fragment, soul fragment, basically you can pop one of these off uh, at any point. So I always run Spirit Bomb and Fracture now because I think they're a good duo together. And I won't get too complicated into this, but I have a little macro, a little trade secret here, guys. For that ability, this Fracture ability here that I just mentioned, and that is right here. Cast sequence, reset, and I'll try to put it in the description for you guys so you don't have to write it all out. Just copy and paste. But there it is. I figured there's only so many times that I'm going to be casting Spirit Bomb. So I use Fracture uh, because I always technically want to be using Spirit Bomb as a heal to myself as I'm running away, and I want to be fracturing whatever's directly on me. So when I pop away, I can Spirit Bomb, from a range, since Spirit Bomb is 40-yard range, and I can heal myself from a range. That helps, like, in situations where you might like run too far ahead of your healers. But yeah, anything that's on you, you basically just want to cast this ability here, Fracture, for the most part, because it's just really good. But in order to do that, you have to build up your shear. I'm sorry, you have to build up your rage here, and with this ability here, which is called shear. So technically, you just always want to be spamming that. These two abilities I always spam together, just because I need this to build the rage up in order to use this here, and then this gives me the ability to use Spirit Bomb, if that makes sense. Anyways, I skipped the spell here. I won't get into this one yet because that's in a different increment. I think I'm being stared at right now. I hope this guy doesn't want to challenge me to anything here while I'm going over this. But anyways, uh, pretty much in every situation that you're flag carrying, actually in every situation that you're flag carrying, you're gonna want to run this one just because it's an extra getaway. As you can see, like it's just like the druid little tornado ability that sucks everyone into place. I don't know what it's called, but it's the same deal here. Yeah, it was a little laggy, but you get the idea. Um, yeah, I'll get into this is basically a longer fear, but I'll get into that later. We already talked about Spirit Bomb. I didn't even go over this one because I just never use it. This one I never use as well. I told you this one I never use. This one's optional, but I'll go over that in a different part of the same video. Don't really run that one. Uh, and don't run this one anymore. I used to run it like when I was first playing DH, but now it's just a lot of this and some of that. Last resort, must have no matter what. Honored talents. This is for FC, by the way, guys. This is the FC talents. Always run trinket because you never know when you're gonna be kidney bombed. So you want to have that ready and save it for kidney bombs during flag carrying maps. Hopefully everyone knows that. If they don't, you're welcome. This is a really good one. It's the only one that I run basically because it gives you more. What does it say here? I mean, you can read it. More health, reduced damage, that sort of thing. This one I like these two, but I always run this one for some reason, just because I like having more output of sigils. But this is a good one. The only thing I don't like about this one is that it makes the circle that pops out when you press your leap, which is, you know, this one, Infernal Strike. I call it leap just because it's like a leap. But it makes this little circle way bigger. You see this little circle that comes out when I press it? It makes it like twice as big. So it's kind of hard to on an FC map if you're trying to like I don't know what I should call this, like LOS through like a little loophole like between like two pillars, but there's like a little opening. You want to be able to fit this little circle through those things. Like let's say something like this. I don't know why I'm choppy, but something like in between these two pillars here, these two, you want to be able to like fit it through that. If you went the other spec, this little aimer might not fit through it, is what I'm saying. Anyways, this is annoying. I don't know why I'm lagging. So we'll move on from there into the next part of the video, which is talking about vengeance. Um, Actually, I'll say a little bit more about flag carrying. Uh, as a flag carrier, you should always be very vocal, obviously, but you should be most vocal about communicating things on you if you're in a situation where you feel you're not getting healed. Um, with that said, don't just use your abilities just to use them. Try to save them, and when you get flagged, try to avoid the team fight in the middle of the map at all times. And hopefully your healers are being vocal with you, because it sucks when they're not. You want to be able to use your ring of peace on command, so tell your misweaver to like hold it for you till when you need it, because you got to be calling that. Um, Unless you know they're really good with it. Um, but yeah, other than that, be very vocal with your healers. Your misweavers should always be ahead of you, hopefully, unless they're being slowed. But if you don't have a misweaver, good luck, because a misweaver is always a must-have. Uh, and all right, so I guess I'll get into the really quick here, the sitting part of this video. Looks like the lag went away. I don't know what was going on. So when you're sitting, obviously you want to be 2 leaps away, or at least a leap and a half. Uh, either one works, and that is because here. Let me jump off of here just to see. You can see the range. So let's assume this tree is the cap that I'm protecting. You want to have it at 2 max range leaps or 1.5. So I like 1.5 just because I can like run a little bit and I can aim it while I'm in the air. But this is why you're sitting, just so you don't get sat by flag or anything that CCs you has to like run an extra range to get back to the flag after they CC you, which isn't going to be enough time to cap the base. So it's in your favor to it's in your best interest to sit away uh, as as allowable, as far away as allowable. So when you're sitting, the worst thing, the the thing that you want to be most scared of is a rogue, believe it or not, or at least a good rogue. Um, Anything else, it's very easy to sit in any situation. Basically, you want to keep in mind that anytime you're by the flag, you're vulnerable. Uh, So what you want to do is, if you have to trinket anything, if they get you in a CC out here and you have to trinket, and then you have to leap to it, you always want to do, no matter what, in any situation, that you're going to go back to your flag to stop the spinning, is this spell right here. I call this the Vengeance Bomb. It's to counter not just the smoke bomb caps, but also um, Mind Bomb. I guess it could dispel Mind Bomb too, which is really cool. But I won't get too into that. but I will show you really quick. I have this add-on, and I guess you can make a a graphic for any buff or debuff you have, but you can do a lot more with it. But we're not going to talk about that. So here you can see that I've made it here, activation by debuff. But you can see every little use that this add-on has right here. This is the meat of the add-on right here. It's power auras. It's like a version of weak auras, but a little better, I guess. Type the spell there, use on texture, and that's pretty much it. So anytime I get it on me in an actual match, I'll know through that little add-on that I made there, power auras. Maybe I'll make a guide on it. Just comment in the comment section below, and I guess we'll see what happens if you want it. But yeah, that is my Mind Bomb notifier. So anytime I have that, I always just press it and it dispels it. Anyways, when you're in a rogue situation here and you're sitting and they're trying to cap on you, even if it's a hunter and they put a trap by the flag, anything that they're gonna CC you, cyclones even, I'm pretty sure. You wanna just do this jump and then press immolation aura, because the immolation aura is the only thing you have, I guess, aside from this ability here, Signal of Flame. And then if you spec into the leap that pops out, the Signal of Flame that pops out when you leap, I don't have it on right now, but for the most part, you can't cast those anyways. So while you're in CC, the only thing that can stop them, what I'm trying to say, is this ability here, Immolation Aura. You can see here it's burns nearby enemies, fire damage every 1 second. So that basically keeps them from capping. If they get you in another CC, you want to just fear immediately. I don't have the long fear, so normally I do. Whenever I'm not FCing, I always take the improved fear, so I trade it for this spell, so I get the long fear here. So once you trinket that, you want to just fear the flag immediately, because you know second CC is coming, and you know they're going to be by the flag, so you want to get, as soon as you trinket, the second fear off, and then after that, or even before that as an option, instead of the fear right away, after your trinket, you can just leap away immediately and get out of there and just like glaive from a distance. But I think that's pretty much it for sitting. Hope I didn't forget anything. Here, I'll do a little sample here of lumber mill on Arathi Basin. So, I mean, this looks familiar, I'm sure. So with the flags over here, you want to just pop in and out, glaving them. Otherwise, you're going to get mind controlled. So this helps. This little pillar here helps you LOS the mind controls and things like that, or any other CC coming your way. So it's very nifty to use your environment to your advantage, especially when it comes to sitting. This goes for any map, obviously. So pretty much for sitting, this will be way quicker. Sitting, I would just keep this one, obviously. This one, it doesn't really matter, but this one might keep them from capping. No, it doesn't actually. I tested that the other day, so it doesn't matter. I would just keep everything the same, other than these ones right here. What I was saying earlier, you want to take concentrated sigils, because you want to have the opportunity to maybe ninja node, or like I said, anytime you're not FCing, you want to take this one because you might want a ninja node, or be ready to cap one back after they've ninja capped you, for example, and they don't have trinket. You can easily get it back with this one because it's an extra 2 seconds on fear, I believe. Everything else stays the same, like I said. You might want this one as an option, because if you're doing vengeance, sitting or ninjaing on maps like, let's see, I guess it's Gilneas, Eots, and AB, Arathi Basin. Those are the only maps, by the way, that you should play vengeance on, to sit or ninja. It helps to have this ability because it's just like an extra 25% damage. Like, why not? You know, you're not doing anything else. You're not doing damage as vengeance. We all know that. Again, everything else stays the same. Uh, yeah. By the way, these two spells are really good. This one, I didn't mention this on the FC map part, but this one you should be careful to run on FC maps if they have a warlock, because that can like end you if you dispel yourself at high stacks. Um, so if they have, especially if they have two locks, you don't want to run that. But this one does the same thing as this, except like it casts it back on them, or it tries to at least. You see here, if possible, at the end. Um, Whereas this one, if you dispel UA, it does damage to the dealer, which is you. This one doesn't. So it's nice to have this one pretty much all the time in any situation. But especially FC maps. Yeah, and trample, obviously. I always run trample. I never take these two. Unless it's Havoc, then I take maybe Detainment, but we're talking about Vengeance sitting right now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I guess as this third part to the video, I was gonna talk about Vengeance ninjaing bases, taking bases. But it's pretty much, when it comes to the spec, it's pretty much the same thing. Like like I said, concentrate signals for the extra 2 seconds of fear. And yeah, pretty much everything else is optional. I usually take this one too, in case they need me in a team fight, do extra damage. Or at least if a target's being called, you know, I could put that on there. If the target's not being called, then, you know, can't do anything about that. But yeah. So I guess when you're ninjaing, there's like, I guess, 3 spells that are your only primary spells. It's gonna be, let's see, how can I test this? Let's assume this little stump here, this little stump here is gonna be what we're ninjaing. So you're gonna obviously jump to it, but you don't want to jump too close, because sometimes you might get too trigger happy and then prison before you land, because apparently you can cast spells while you're in the midst of the air of your leap here. Because watch, it doesn't share global with anything. If you look at my spells, it does, like, I can cast other spells. That's what I'm saying. Watch, doesn't global with anything. So here we go. You can obviously jump to it. When you land, wait a second or two, hopefully like a second and a half at most. Then you just imprison, spamming my imprison here. Get them in the imprison, make sure you're positioned under them, because you can't aim when you spec. You can't aim your fear anymore, because it casts it at your current location. If you can see there, if you read that. So now I guess you can't aim it, so I'm not spec'ing into it right now, but you get the idea. You're gonna get the target and imprison, and then you're gonna fear them on the spot right there. While they're in fear, I'm sorry, as soon as you get the cast off on fear, it should be the end of the imprison. So there's like a little gap that they can actually get out of the imprison, between the imprison and the fear. So you want to limit that opportunity that they might have to get out of the fear, because, like I said, imprison doesn't last. By the time fear goes off, imprison can still go off, like it doesn't last that long. So you want to lock them in with fell eruption. So you want to have like rage built up before you go into ninja something, or at least you want to like hit them a little bit. You can if you're blood elf, you can do this. This gives you what, 15 right there. So that's enough, obviously. So you can just arcane, fell eruption, or hit them with a little bit of shear. But you don't want to do that, because that, you know, they can get you in a CC and then call for help, and then you're useless. So that is imprison. Get the fear off, and then as soon as you can, as you're like, even as you're running towards the node that you're gonna cap, which is gonna be I don't know, what can I do it? We'll do it this little palm tree right here. The base of it. You get them in a CC with them prison, you fear, and then you're running to your little thing, and then you jump to it if you need to, depending on where it is, and then you start spam capping. They're gonna trinket, you leave immediately. You come back like when the fear is up, pretty much. You want to time it so like you get there when the fear is up exactly. And obviously save your trample because you're gonna, it's nice to have it always when you ninja something, especially against a rogue, because if you sight a rogue, they're gonna do everything they can to outlast it by staying really far from you, and that's really annoying. So be aware of that. You can trample while you're sighting, and I believe it moves at the same speed. Um, but yeah, trample and sight are really OP to get rogues out. And then obviously you have your cancel trample button to actually get a glaive off. Otherwise, they're gonna sap you. They're gonna shadow step to you, and they're gonna sap you. But actually, shadow step I believe is 25 yard range. So what you want to do if you're capping on a rogue, especially, is you obviously want to cancel your trample. I like to do it while I'm in the mid stair to get a little bit more distance from the trample speed buff. You cancel it while you're in the air, and you leap to the rogue. Because remember what I said, you can cast other spells while you leap. So what you do, so they don't shadow step sap you, is you leap to the rogue while you spam your glaive. Because you already have them targeted. Remember, you have sight. You can sight the rogue with the spectral sight. You can read it there, but it only lasts 10 seconds, so you have to time it perfectly. So if there's a rogue, jump to them, get the glaive off, and that's it. They can't re-stealth unless they want to waste some cooldowns. If it's a hunter or anything with a pet, this is important to know. Not everyone knows how to sit, so you want to take advantage of any pet class that's not sitting their pet by the flag. Because if it's not sitting by flag, most likely it's going to be next to them most of the time, unless they have like a succubus nearby, not on flag but not with them. But that's besides the point. Hopefully we don't get distracted by this person here. Anyways, let's see what's next here. What we're gonna talk about. So yeah, that's what you do against pets. And I guess the next class that everyone should know about is the ret, because again, if you're gonna play vengeance, like you probably don't even want to if the other team has any pet or rets. So for rets, they have an AOE ability that looks like hammers. I forget what it's called. But you basically there's a second of space that you can get them in a CC before they cast it again, because it lasts for as long as uh, the cooldown of it is, if that makes sense. The buff lasts for as long as the cooldown of it is. So when that gap happens, you have to time it. You can even get it off like maybe 2 seconds before the gap happens. But for a ret, you want to wait for that opportunity, get him in a CC, or hit them a little bit and maybe start going away from the flag and see if they follow you, so you can actually not worry about that AoE that they have that keeps you from capping. In which case you can just get them in a CC out here and then jump to node, cap, spam right click, cap. But in most cases, like smart ret is not going to move away from its flag, so you want to be ready for that and get them in imprison within that gap, or a little before his hammers are going to be off, just because it takes a little bit of time to imprison and fear, and imprison, fear, and fell eruption. Because remember, you have the fell eruption to lock them in to essentially extend the duration of imprison a little bit longer, so they don't blink out or do anything, depending on the class, do anything to get out of there, even walk out sometimes. Um, but yeah, so once you get that CC on the ret, he'll probably have a bubble uh, like two things. He'll have a trinket, and then you have to come back, and then you have to get the trinket, then you have to get the bubble or the bop, whichever one uses, then you got to come back again. So you have to do all of this within 2 minutes of when his first trinket's up. Otherwise, he's going to have three things because his trinket will have been up already, if that makes sense. So you want to just do everything within 2 minutes before his trinket's up again. Otherwise, everything will be up again. So that's why I hate reds um, more than anything. I guess hunters and locks are equally as bad, but rogues are going to be the easiest class to cap on. They're also a good rogue you have to be careful for if you're sitting. But when you're capping nodes, super easy. Nothing to worry about. Just worry about the things with pets and rets. Okay, other than that, I hope I've clarified on everything. Hopefully I didn't miss any details about things that are important when it comes to playing Vengeance to flag carry, ninja, or base it. Aside from that, let me just double check that I've gone over everything that is important. I guess I'll just end by saying, as a flag carrier, just always uh, try to communicate with your healers. And if it's a Mistweaver, tell the Mistweaver to, when you're running away, to always try to be ahead of you. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys like this video. Comment if you want. If not, it's chill. I don't really care. But again, I'm just trying to give a little something back to the community. Figured this is the last season, so why not hook it up with some trade secrets, right? Cool. So again, this is Rex, aka KillRex, coming at you live. Logging out for now. Peace.